I'm trying to do this as professionally and without making myself the subject of this week's sports media ombudsman, where I eviscerate myself. I have tried all year long to point to publicly available things to demonstrate what I knew was a real rift between Lamar and John Harbaugh. And so I pointed to the fact that Lamar, the head coach and the quarterback don't communicate about injuries, clearly. Mm-hmm. And the fact that, and I thought that article was pretty clearly, to mix metaphors, a Hail Mary, I felt, by John Harbaugh to signal to the organization, guys, I know you think if it's one or the other, you got to go with the star quarterback. But
wow,
that was my I don't know. That's my read. Mm-hmm. That is
the only way to read that story was that it came from the Ravens and Harbaugh.
Well, it definitely came from the Ravens,
right?
Somebody in the organization.
And so this is a very, very risky maneuver. I don't know, again, who the best available head coach is, because I don't even know who the best available D coordinator for the Cowboys is. And I don't know, for the Ravens, their appetite of, with 2 years left on his deal, giving Lamar a fully guaranteed top of the market deal, which is the only thing he'd want. Like he would be justified in asking for that. The market's moved 20% since he signed his deal. He wanted a fully guaranteed deal before he won a cup or an MVP and 2 first-team All-Pros. But this was coming. And even if they won this weekend, barring this team making the Super Bowl, I believe this was coming. And I thought it was the biggest story in the NFL the last 3 weeks, and now it's here.
Look, you may be right about Lamar and Harbaugh. Obviously, Lamar didn't give him, forget ringing endorsement, an endorsement at all when he was asked about this the other day. But regardless of that, unless Lamar Jackson was like adamant, John Harbaugh's my coach. He has helped me become what I've become. He must be here. Yeah. Barring that, it was time. I don't care if Lamar liked him but was like, hey, whatever, we got to win. It was time. We saw year after, and again, Harbaugh will be just like Stefanski, although he's obviously done more than Stefanski. Harbaugh may get another job. He'll certainly get interviews with some of these teams that are looking for head coaches. So he's a good coach. But 18 years, after they won that Super Bowl, he missed the playoffs 4 out of the next 5 years. And then Lamar popped because they wasn't going well Lamar's rookie year, and then he put him in for Flacco, and the rest is history. They became a contender. But we saw so many times where things I look at as coaching. I thought they were an undisciplined team with a lot of the penalties in critical situations, taunting, unsportsmanlike fouls, just the not being able to get a full complementary game together. I look at a lot of that as coaching. And so I thought it was time, whether him and Lamar got along or not. And so it is risky in that you had a good coach. Now you got to get a good coach, but you still have Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, and some other good players. So I think they'll be fine, and this was the right move.
Yeah, listen, I'm not going to go down the laundry list of issues that I've had with the Baltimore Ravens and coaching and the decision M. And Brew just kind of said what I always talked about, like the undisciplined nature. All the stuff. And so to me, we've already done that so many times. So it's just about the decision itself that I want to talk about. And the decision itself makes perfect sense. I mean, it makes perfect sense. And you can't just keep going in circles. You can't just keep going in circles doing the same thing again and again and again and again. You just can't. And so I don't even see it as a risk. Why is it a risk? You haven't won a Super Bowl. You haven't really sniffed a Super Bowl. You just haven't. You made the AFC Championship game against the Chiefs, and you were completely uncompetitive against them in a year that you were clearly an elite top team, and then in the playoffs, you're just like, nah. And then when you lose one of your defensive coaches, your defense falls off a cliff as well, and that coach turns the defense for the Seattle Seahawks into an elite top defense. Yeah. What are you supposed to do with that? What are you What are you supposed to do with that? And so, unfortunately, it seems like this time around, a lot of the better coaches that you could hire are defensive related. The Brian Flores of the NFL, and like, on one side, if they bring this elite, if the coordinator, the Flores or whoever, let's just use Flores as a placeholder. But there's other defensive coordinators that are worthy of consideration. But let's say you bring that into here. One, you're dealing with some other coordinators. Now, this doesn't work for Flores, who have never been a head coach. So you could say that that's risky. Or you bring in a Flores who had been a head coach, but obviously not successful one. And now you still have these problems with the offensive coordinating. But I mean, listen, if Cliff Kingsbury, I don't know if you want Cliff Kingsbury as a head coach necessarily, but I'd be interested to bring in like a Brian Flores. Bring him in to be your defensive head coach. He will bring that discipline. He will bring that intensity. He will keep everyone organized. He will upgrade that defense. And then if you can get a Cliff Kingsbury as your offensive coordinator, that I'm interested in. Otherwise, it's Lamar Jackson. I want to pair him with an offensive head coach already, a great offensive head coach. The problem is I don't know who that is. And I'm a big believer in Cliff Kingsbury. And I made a whole video defending Cliff Kingsbury, but like, I don't know if I want him to get his second job as a head coach with this version of the Baltimore Ravens right now. That I'd be a little too concerned with that. I could see Cliff Kingsbury working better in a place like Las Vegas. You really kind of have to rebuild, develop a quarterback, all that good stuff. I think that's something that he could have success in. But if he wants to be a coordinator again, or if he can't get a head coaching job, you do that, or right then the option is a Kevin Stefanski. Definitely interesting. I don't know how Baltimore Ravens fans feel about a Stefanski. Listen, I think Kevin Stefanski, I think it's hard to really rate him. I think he could be a great coach, or he could be a terrible coach. I don't. He was with the Cleveland Browns, an absolute disaster of a franchise, and he was backed into a corner many times, whether it was with Deshaun Watson, Baker, Shador. It's just all a mess. Honestly. So it's just, he's kind of difficult to evaluate in that regard, but it's just like, I don't know. If you were trying to go offensive minded, you'd be looking at a Stefanski, Cliff Kingsbury, Brian Dable, trying to think if there's anyone else that's jumping out right now. Maybe like a Clint Kubiak. Like, that's why like everything is a spectrum now. Do you want an offensive head coach? Do you want an offensive head coach who has had head coaching experience? Do you want an offensive coordinator who then will have his first job as a head coach with this version of the Baltimore Ravens? Do you, Snorts, want a defensive head coach? Like it's just, and you got to be smart about it. This is where you really got to take the reins of this franchise and say you have to have a vision. You have to say we're getting Brian Flores and we're hiring Cliff Kingsbury. Brian, we want you to be our defensive head coach. You're going to have control over everything, but this is the guy who we want to run the offense. Like, you got to have the vision. You got to understand what you're looking to accomplish. And that is exactly what the Philadelphia Eagles did over the last couple of years. And it directly led to a Super Bowl. They didn't just say, oh, we're firing this guy, and then I don't know that guy and that guy. You got to have a vision. You got to understand what you're looking to accomplish. You got to have a plan. And this is where it's frustrating. Because the Ravens could have fired Harbaugh. And listen, I said the same thing about the Bills as well. You could have fired Sean McDermott, and then you could have went out and got Ben Johnson. That was the play. But you didn't have the courage to do it. And you got bit because of it now, because now you're firing Harbaugh, which I was calling for a while ago. You let go of Harbaugh, and now it's like, where do you go from here? You could have had a Liam Cohen. You could have had a Cliff Kingsbury, a Ben Johnson. Could have had even a Kellen Moore. And now offensively, I don't know what's out there in this immediate moment. Seemingly the best option is Clint Kubiak. And like, I don't know, I'm a big believer in Clinton Kubiak, but like, this is such a unique situation because it's, to me, in a lot of ways, it's easier to hire a coach when your franchise is really bad. Your quarterback, you have a brand new quarterback, either like a rookie or second year. You need to rebuild, retool, rework things, install a new culture. That's not what you're necessarily going to get with this Ravens team. One, Lamar Jackson is an elite seasoned veteran quarterback. So in a lot of ways, like, he is the culture. you don't bring in a new coach. And now like that coach is like, this is my locker room. This is my team. This is what we do here. This is the Baltimore Raven way. Lamar's going to be like, this is how it's done, man. So it's a weird dynamic. It's a weird dynamic unless you're hiring a coach. When you have a great quarterback at the level of Lamar, snorts. Unless you're hiring a truly established coach who's been around for a long time, who demands and commands respect, like an Andy Reid, you're bringing in some other coach who's never been a head coach or, you know, a coordinator, whatever it may be. Like, it's just different when you have the amount of success and experience that Lamar Jackson has had. It's just a different way to navigate this whole process. So it's just, and that's where you have to kind of figure out, that's why you have to also be able to have a real conversation with Lamar. Not a generic one, not a lip service one, but a real grounded conversation with Lamar and trying to figure out what Lamar needs to be the best that he can be. How can you really unlock him to that next level? And what does that look like? So yeah, I think you should feel excited if you're a Baltimore Ravens fan. I think you should be optimistic. And I just think it's just a new day. That's to me what it gets boiled down to more than anything. If you just are running it back with the same cast of characters, like it's just like, why would you expect anything to be different, right? Doing the same thing again and again and expecting different results. The cliche that we've all heard a million times. It's literally been the definition of the Baltimore Ravens. And now finally, that's not the case. So I don't see that as a risk. I see that as exciting. But hey, jumping out of a plane is pretty exciting, and that's also technically a risk. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about the Baltimore Ravens parting ways with Harbaugh? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single comment. So whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights, but ultimately let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.